Hey everyone, welcome back to Pretending with Dice. As always, I'm your host and game master, AJ. Welcome to our final episode of 2024. I don't know where this year has gone. It's just flown all the way past at breakneck speed, and suddenly here we are at the end of the year. But I want to thank each and every one of you who's tuned in to us this year. We've had such a fun time recording the show in the past year, launching Frontier Season 2. Getting to do karaoke episodes, too many things to name. I won't go into it now, but just a big thanks to everybody who's tuned in. And by way of an immediate pivot to an apology, we will be taking our customary sort of January break after this episode, just to sort of recover from the chaos and madness that is the holiday season. But no, don't worry, we'll be back as soon as we can, right at the start of February. Our first episode of the year in 2025 is going to be on Thursday, February the 6th. That's going to be the next chapter of Frontier, carrying on from this episode. And I want to thank you in advance for your patience, basically. January will fly by, but So with all that being said, I think I don't probably want to keep you waiting any longer for this episode. Let's get right into it with episode 137, Conductance, Part 2. Enjoy. Johnny, you are awoken by sounds of a hungover Ferengi.
Bond, you alright over there?
I had a bad dream.
Let me guess. Worms?
No, I was in like a cave or a mine or something, and it was full of very unhelpful people.
Unhelpful like how?
I don't know. One of them was like a nurse or something, and she just didn't know what she was doing. And then people were pretending to be ghosts, and then the sun went out. I don't know. I woke up.
Sounds like a pretty crazy time.
It was pretty wild. I tell you, there was a cowboy there and everything.
Johnny's just sat on the edge of his bed, rubbing his eyes. Like, okay, yeah. I mean, you're all right though. I mean, yesterday must have been worse than a nightmare, right?
No, I'm all right. I'm all right. Yeah.
Good. Oh well, I suppose we better get ready for the shift today. See what happens and see if we've got any new information about that worm, or if we've managed to get any scans going.
Yeah, I could do with some breakfast though.
Well, let's get to it.
You turn to get dressed and you hear the unmistakable sound of the opening of a slug of cola bottle behind you, followed by the slight wafting of the scent which you've come to know.
I think Johnny's quite quick about getting ready. Whenever those slug of colas open and that smell wafts through the room, it's time to go.
Yeah, it smells a little bit like swampy, that's all. It's a bit like...
He's not a fan.
Yeah, you can smell brackish water, basically.
Not how you want to start your morning, really.
No, but it's how Bond wants to start his morning. Hits a spot. Clears the head. Sure you don't want some?
100% sure. I don't think I'm ever going to have another one of those.
Yeah, more for me.
Yeah, drink up. I'm going to get some orange juice, I think. Computer, one orange juice?
Just a brief start of the day moment there between Johnny and Bond.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, as we've surmised, it is the following morning. And you've all had a bit of a chance to rest to varying degrees. And so yeah, I just kind of wanted to see how you wanted to progress going forward. Real quick, did we ever decide what happened to the ball thing that Murphy found?
Did I not maybe hand it off to the science team?
I don't remember is the problem. We can say that's what happened, yeah.
I'd imagine she would have handed it off to the science team. Like, that we found this thing.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to establish that before we go any further. Because really, we've got sort of 4 different avenues of investigation that can be looked at. We've got, as I say, the ball that you found. You have the cave area that you found it in, with the area that you couldn't get into. We have the worm, obviously, down in Biolab 1 with Fel. And we have the potential underwater civilization that Rai has been, the closest encounter happened with. But yeah, basically, it's entirely in your hands how you want to go forward. So yeah, any thoughts, I guess?
At least from my perspective, Johnny's lower rank, so he's kind of going to be waiting on instruction on like where are we going today in terms of senior officers. They're probably going to be steering the boat on that. Sorry to throw it off to everybody else.
No, it's fine. Murphy's kind of in the same boat because she's technically security. So
yeah, I mean, but you're able to like follow up on stuff and think,
Yeah, but it's really what the scientist wants to kind of focus. Like, she's interested in the cave, but she's also understanding that they want to go and look at the oceans. But in her mind, that might take more planning. Like, they'll maybe want to do some scans of the ocean itself, more detailed above the surface before going below the surface.
Yeah.
And then the ball and the worm are both on ship things.
I mean, you're totally within your sort of remit or whatever to say, like, right, okay, I want to continue, like, with the cave. I want to go back down, look at the cave. I want to see what we can think about with that and sort of spearhead an approach to that. And that's not going to, like, lock us out from any of the other ones. That could be, like, that you're almost as good as said of, like, that's what Murphy's thinking about, and be advocating for, like, can we do more with that? I'm just sort of trying to gauge, like, okay, with these options in front of all of you, like, who's interested in what and how are they progressing those investigations, kind of thing, or even like checking in on them or whatever. How are you?
Well, she would want to check on the worm to make sure that it's secure. So
Okay.
she would probably Murphy would probably swing by Fel's lab.
Yeah.
Just to check everything's okay.
Sure. Okay, so this is the first time you're going down there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you're able to find your way down to the lab and step in through the sort of airlock containment, which I think would you say you're pleased to see, like, they're taking it seriously, that it's like a...
Yes, she is pleased.
Yeah.
She is pleased.
And yeah, you're kind of greeted with the same sight that Rai was previously, with this sort of large kind of enclosure taking up the majority of the room in here, sort of circular thing in the center of the room. I think the room is probably... It's big enough that this can be like 35-40 feet across, and there's like enough room for kind of a walkway around the edge of it, plus a little kind of experiment area, like there's equipment set up on a bench and stuff, and then there's the hologram boards and things. There's enough room to work. People aren't just squeezing around this enclosure, but the enclosure's taken up most of the room in here, and sort of a force field covering it. First thing you see as you step in is Fel is scribbling madly onto a pad just a little way around the edge of it, and she's looking sort of intently down into the enclosure itself. She doesn't seem to have noticed you come in.
Murphy's just going to tilt her head and be like, Fel, have you even been to bed?
What time is it?
It's 9 a.m.
What's the date?
It's the 19th of February.
19th? Really? No, I haven't.
Then I suggest you finish your sentence, put your pad down, and go get some shut-eye.
I haven't got time for that, Murphy. This is too important. Come and have a look at this. She's not begging you over.
I'm not going to get bit, am I?
No, well, not by me.
Fine. What have you got?
She kind of points down into the enclosure. You see this worm doing laps around it, and it's going pretty quick. It's going like almost like running speed at this point. Here it comes. Here it comes. Ready? Ready? Any second. The worm launches itself out and scrapes its way along part of the force field, which sort of, again, not fizzes or anything, but it just definitely is doing its job of like, nope, nothing's getting through here. Look at it. It's going faster now. Faster than it was before.
Its speed's increasing with every leap?
Yeah, it's like it's taking on energy.
That doesn't bode well for the force field, though.
It's fine, we got plenty of power. The important thing is, it should be expending energy with all this movement and jumping and whatnot, but it's not. It hasn't gotten the energy from anywhere else either. We've been trying all kinds of different samples to see what it eats, and it hasn't touched any of them.
What, nothing?
Nope. Not eaten a single thing since we brought it on board. Didn't even go for that little miniature ensign I made out of replicated meat. All it does is stay on the move, and every once in a while jumps up and launches itself at the force field. And after it does it, well, it seems to have even more energy than before it jumped.
I'm not the most science-leaning crew member that we have, but biomolecular energy, perhaps? Every person has like their own energy. Isn't that a thing?
Well, kinda, yeah. I mean, every living thing has its own little bit of electrical charge, I suppose.
Maybe it's attracted to that, or senses it, maybe? I mean, you're the scientist, of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm working on a theory. Don't know if you're gonna like it, but I think it can somehow metabolize energy that it comes into contact with, like the force field. It's like it's taking it in and immediately being able to repurpose it for its own use.
I swear to God, if this thing escapes...
It's not going to escape, don't worry about it. But my theory makes sense, right? I mean, that place was a dust bowl. There was no food for them to eat.
Well, the captain would disagree.
Well, we don't really know it was trying to eat him. I mean, it might have just been attracted to the power.
Transporter signal, maybe?
Maybe, although that doesn't really stick around. But we were all walking around in powered environment suits, so yeah. That might be the culprit.
Or our scanning devices, tricorders?
I mean, yeah, maybe. I mean, we were using them a lot. Might have been like ringing a dinner bell. Odds are all of our equipment was much more concentrated source of energy than, well, anything else on the planet. Anyway, all this is just kind of a theory still, but I've got some tests I want to run, and yeah, we can hopefully confirm some of it.
Alright. But make sure to keep your safeguards in place.
Sure, yeah. I might want to use a phaser in one of my tests. You're the one I need to run that past, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure about the phaser.
Not like a big one, just one of the little pocket handheld ones, you know.
Even so, I'm not really keen on...
Well, not so fast. I mean, how about you send one of your, like, security people down to do the phasering? They know what they're doing, right?
Alright, fine. I'll send Ensign Conought down. Alright?
Perfect. He's a pretty good shot, if I remember right.
He's one of the best in the unit. Right. Let me know when you want this done. I'll let Johnny know that to listen out for your comm.
Excellent. We've got some preliminary tests I want to run first, but yes. This will be good.
Take it. You have to have a nap before Johnny comes down here with the phaser.
I'm fine. I don't need a nap. I'll just get the doctor to give me some stimulants or something and keep me going.
No nap, no phaser.
Fine.
And I will check the computer and don't even think about cheating.
My nap journal is private, Murphy. I'll thank you to stay out of it.
Not that. Your whereabouts, Fel, not that... See? This is exactly why you need sleep.
Fine. Ensign Kadan? Oh, where's he gone? She's looking around and, like, there's, like, a whole new set of ensigns compared to when Ray was in here. The nearest of which, a human sort of looks at her with a helpful expression on his face. You, Ensign. I'm sorry, my brain isn't working. A slightly disappointed look enters the Ensign's expression, as if to say, why don't you remember my name? You're in charge till I get back. I'll be back in, 90 minutes.
If she's back here in 90 minutes, she's not getting a phaser.
How long do you want me to nap for?
At least 4 hours.
Okay, fine. I'll be back at 1 p.m. with a man with a gun. And then we're going to do this. We're going to shoot that worm. Then she turns and walks out.
Murphy's just going to turn to one of the other science officers and be like, is she always this obsessive, or is this a bit more unusual than usual?
It's pretty, it's par for the course, Commander.
I just keep an eye on her.
Yeah, no problem. You're standing there, the worm jumps up and scrapes along the force field again.
Murphy's just gonna give a shudder and be like, I need some coffee.
Oh, this is pre-coffee, this meeting.
Pre-coffee. It's just like, want to make sure that the creature has not escaped.
Yeah, okay. Alright. That's what Murphy's doing. Obviously we know Johnny's going to come down with a phaser at some point, and
I mean, it's the general duties until then for Johnny, I suppose.
Yeah,
but he's going to wait to be called upon.
Murphy should probably tell him that he's at Fel's beck and call for the phaser.
Yeah, then I can report down.
Yeah. Murphy to Conought.
Conought here?
Conought, Dr. Fel is requesting... I don't know why I agreed to this, but she wants to shoot the worm with a phaser. Test out some theory that she's got going. Can you report to her when she calls on you?
Okay, yeah. I sir, I will shoot the worm. Conought out.
And Johnny's a bit perplexed on the other end of the line. But he will, he'll make his way down at that point.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got a couple of hours to go until Fel's done with her nap, but yeah. Where do we find Ray this morning, then?
I think at this point, Ray is probably going to be up on the bridge.
Okay.
Looking into ways they can get proper deep scans of what's on the ocean, what's in the ocean and around the ocean floor of the planet without being too disruptive. Because based on his interaction with the creature that he and Brekka were chasing, they want to be as least intrusive as they can when they're trying to find out what's down there. So initially, in the meeting the previous day, he did suggest sending a probe into the ocean, but that might be a bit too disruptive.
It's an option, though.
It's an option, but he's looking at other ways we might be able to get scans that don't involve us dropping a big metallic thing into the ocean and maybe crushing someone's house.
That's true.
Yeah. So that's what Ray's doing. He's researching and looking for other options.
Okay. I mean, I don't think I'd need you to do a check for this either. I think you're just kind of, because you're kind of aware of the problems and options, that associated with various options. The main issue that you're kind of running into here is that because of the background level of increased high energy particles and that's in the system, it is sort of affecting the ability to do a complete map of the sea floor from orbit just with the ship's sensors on its own. It's not completely impossible, but there's some interference there that's going to affect the sort of the resolution of the scans that you can get. You'll be able to take, I think, the equivalent of some lower res kind of orbital photos, I guess, of it, and see the kind of the topography of the sea floor and stuff, but you're not going to be able to get a proper high resolution scan that you're getting, I think, because I think the
composition of the atmosphere would make it impossible to be 100% accurate as to what we're looking at.
I think, yeah, I mean, you can get an okay picture, I think, of it, yeah, but maybe not to the level that you normally would like, just because of the amount of radiation in the system, because you're having to fly around with your shields up and stuff like that, and
Yeah. Oh, I have an idea.
Yeah.
What is the current complement of shuttles we have on board? How many do we have across all types?
2 runabouts, 2 Type 9 shuttles, 5 Type 8 shuttles, 5 Type 6 shuttles, 4 work bees, and 6 shuttle pods, which are like the little bunk beddy type ones that it's just 2 seats next to each other kind of thing. So it's quite a lot, but you've got the ship has extensive hangar bays, extensive shuttle bays and stuff and things. Oh, and you have the Dratiran warp ship as well, but that's probably not.
We do, yeah. No, I wasn't thinking about using that here. No, what I was thinking is, what if we were to take 3 or 4 shuttlecraft down into the lower atmosphere and then create a square area up in, so we're all at 4 corners of a square over the area of ocean we want to scan, and between the 4 shuttles they take scans. They're under the atmospheric interference that we're getting from up above. They don't necessarily turn their shields up, get the scans that way, and then send those scans back up to the ship. So that way we're combating the interference by being beneath it, and we collectively scan with the shuttlecraft to get a more complete picture of the area.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah.
Okay. So put that down as a second option.
So you got 3 options here at the moment. You got orbital scans from the ship, but not necessarily as high res as you would maybe like.
Yep.
You've got launch a probe into the ocean.
Yep.
And you've got low-level shuttle flights doing essentially like aerial photography, but like with scanners.
Yeah, beneath the interference that we get.
Well, or at least like closer to the surface, so there's like, it's going to be.
We'll get more detail. The topography will be a bit more detailed that way. Yeah. Okay, I think so. If I have those 3 options, then maybe I will present those to the senior staff for the next briefing as options that we have on how to proceed.
Okay. I mean, what are you preferring out of those, just to gauge your...
I think we need to be as accurate as possible without being disruptive. So I would say my first preference would be the 4 shuttlecraft in a grid pattern, forming a singular square grid above the ocean, under the atmosphere, under the atmospheric interference. So we're basically hovering over the planet, hovering over the ocean, and we take topographical scans that way to get a more detailed look at what we're dealing with, and then we take that information back to the Tenzing.
I think the thing I'll say there is it's a case of like the lower you are, the better it's going to be. So then that has the built-in thing of like, well, if there's life down there, as you know there is, the best quality scans are going to come from low-level flying over the ocean, which is not invisible.
No, that is.
I'm
the
just putting that out. I'm not saying that's a
yeah.
disqualifying thing. I'm just saying that's a
no.
Yeah.
I did think that we wouldn't be invisible to anything that's down there, but we would be above where they appear to be living, so that would be less intrusive.
Above the water at the very least, yeah.
Yeah, less intrusive than dropping a probe into the ocean and hoping that we don't destroy any of their architecture or take any of their lives in the process.
I mean, the thing with probes is like they're variable sizes. I mean, you got ones that are like big, but then there's ones that are like smaller than a torpedo kind of thing,
But again, we would be less intrusive scanning above the surface than we would be scanning under it, because even though we could use a very small probe no bigger than a torpedo, for example, we don't know what effect that might have if they see a foreign object landing in their ocean, like actually under the surface. That could prompt a response of panic or feel like they're under attack.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, these are all factors to consider.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These are all factors to consider, considering that we don't know anything about how they live, what their speech is like, if they can even communicate on a humanoid level, and we don't know how aggressive they could be. So, yeah, that's my thinking.
Yeah. And you say, okay, so you're saying you're waiting for the next briefing then for this discussion to take place, really.
I'll take it to the next briefing about our next move, because we didn't definitively decide we were going to do the probe. It was a suggestion, I think. But I've gone to look at.
Well, that's sort of what I'm meaning for this day of the game to be. Is like,
we do it.
Well, no, not so much that, so much as like, okay, this is now we're weighing up our options kind of day.
Yeah, we're trying to get the answers.
Yeah, or at least making some decisions as to like how you want to explore them further.
My part in that is taking these options to the next meeting and then getting the consensus of the senior staff.
Okay.
Rather than doing a Fel and just beaming it up and putting it in a sand tank and hoping it doesn't kill anyone,
Hasn't killed anybody yet.
I imagine we've maybe got like a scheduled briefing to the next day or something to like decide next steps kind of thing, and this is like us investigating.
We can say that, yeah. We can just say there's a morning meeting scheduled for the next day.
Yeah.
Just to give you a full day to work on whatever you want to work on. All right. Well, we can say that that's taking you some time, and you're kind of, because you're not just like writing a list of like, here's my 3 ideas. You're like comparing stuff against like numbers of like the radiation thing. Like, you're doing some preliminary tests. I mean, you could almost do the high level sensor sweep now, and maybe the thing that happens is you realize that on doing that it's not as good as you would like it to be.
Yeah. But we take that terrible detailed scan and then we overlay it with what we get from the method we do choose.
Well, I don't want to say it's terrible. I mean, you do get like a basic kind of topographical kind of like view of like how the bottom of that sea is kind of like laid out geographically. But in terms of like the resolution you would need to like look for
structure, for life form,
structures and life and stuff, it's a little bit kind of interfered with, like in a way that like the finding of the structures that the other away team wasn't interfered with, because there wasn't like another layer of like water in between it.
So everything that's come previously, we'll say I'm doing that. I've picked out the options, the shuttlecraft, the probe, but off the back of the first thing I do, which is some preliminary scans to see what quality I'm getting back for the topology or the topographical.
Yeah, so
data.
maybe then, just so that we've actually played some game today, maybe we do a check for that. So can I get a reason science check from you? This is difficulty 3, I think, although it's going to be one of those ones where, like, it's not going to be an immediate fail. If you get failures, it's just going to affect, like, what you get back. So difficulty 3, and if somebody could roll for the tensing as well.
A 19 and a 15.
19 and 15. So you got one success.
Oh, that's not so bad.
Whoever's rolling for the tensing. So here's the thing. I always forget this, but now I have these new updated second edition sheets. I was going to say, we need a 2d20 because we have the advanced sensor suites. Whenever a character performs a task assisted by the ship sensors, roll 2d20 rather than 1 for the ship systems. Just for the sensors. So that's what we're on. We were aiming for 16 or under for this, so the 6 and a 3 is 2 successes. We also have high resolution sensors. Any successful roll assisted by the ship sensors gains an additional point of momentum. So you got your 3 successes there, making that a successful roll. My read on that would not be like every dice that is a success gets a momentum. It would be like normally you got 3 successes here between you and the ship. Normally that would be 0 points of momentum because it's a difficulty 3 task. However, because of this talent, you get 1. That would be my read on that.
Yeah.
So it's situational based on what talents your character has.
No, it's that because the ship has the high resolution sensors talent, which means that normally it just ups the amount of momentum you would get from a check by 1 if you're using if you're doing it like assisted by the ship's sensor systems. So like this time, this time it was a difficulty 3 check for you reason science, but using sensor science for the ship. So we're using the ship sensors to do that.
Right.
Overall, we got 3 successes. Normally that would be 0 points of momentum because we have because it's a difficulty 3. It's successful, but 0 points of momentum because it's not any more than the difficulty. However, what this talent does is taking that 0 and adding a 1 to it. So yeah, Whereas if it was difficulty 2, we would have normally gotten 1 point of momentum from it from 3 successes. However, it would have gone up to 2.
Difficulty level.
Yeah.
Okay, I follow you now.
Yeah. So we have 1 point of momentum from that, even though we didn't get more than the difficulty, which is what. Yeah, sort of. That's the. Yeah.
That's the crux of it. Yeah.
That's what that talent's there for, basically, is to be like, hey, you're using the ship systems that what the ship's designed around. Yep, that's going to be a momentum generator kind of thing more than anything. So we have 1 point of momentum, and you got your 3 successes. So yeah, I think you get about as good as you can get. What my sort of factor on this was dependent on the number of successes you got, was like really show like quite how bad the interference was, and you've cleared up most of it as best as you can. This is about as good as you're going to get. So this isn't really changing the outcome of what we talked about before, but this is just sort of saying, okay, there's a really underlying effect of like you've done the best you can from here without a probe or shuttles. So that's leading you to the other options, I think.
Okay.
You've got a good kind of view of the topography, and I think it's showing some features, like you're seeing what could be entrances to underground caves and caverns and things. You get a map of sort of the various canyons and things underwater. I mean, again, this isn't like an ocean. This is like the remains of an ocean, so it's not so big. But yeah, you're not able to get any kind of the deeper like life form scans or anything like that are really definitive. I think it's probably part of it is that you're getting almost like a similar return to like the tricorder readings you were getting down on the planet. Like, can't be fully resolved. Like it's going like you're saying like, okay, run our life form scan, see what we get, and it's coming back with maybe like nothing definitive, and like you're running.
It might be something.
Yeah, you're running like a technology scan, which is a vague thing that they talk about on the show sometimes, and it's like, well, how are you defining that? And it's coming back with, I don't know. So it's sort of it's not giving you a no, it's not giving you a yes, which is what's leading you to this like, well, we need to look at this another way. Like, this is the best the ship can do from here, given the situation and system with the radiation interference and everything. This is the best we're getting from orbit. Yeah.
Okay.
So really, that whole role was just basically justification for what we were already talking about. But yeah.
So I can go into the meeting with some information and then 2 complementary options.
And it could have been worse. That like if you'd have rolled less on the successes, then it could have been even worse. It could have been down to like ship sensors can't penetrate this at all, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can say then this takes most of your. This is a morning of investigation and laying out. This isn't like I take 5 minutes to do a scan and it doesn't look so I can't. This is what you spend your morning doing, I think. Okay, so I think roughly 1 o'clock rolls around. Johnny, I think you're maybe just finishing up a quick snack lunch. You're on duty, but you get a little lunch break at your desk or whatever.
Okay.
And your combat pips.
Lieutenant Commander Fel to Ensign Conought.
Ensign Conought here.
Right. Murphy said you're going to be helping me this afternoon, so I need you to grab a gun. I don't really care which, but I guess I promised Murphy one of the smaller ones. Either way, grab a phaser and meet me in Biolab 1.
Okay, right away.
Cool. This will be fun. See you in a minute. Bell out.
Conought out.
So yeah, it's a little bit of a bewildering call, but you've been. It was almost, I will say, almost 1 o'clock on the dot. So you do wonder how much of that nap she actually had. But you aren't to know that Murphy ordered her to take a nap. But
no. So yeah, Johnny will head down, phaser in hand. He'll quickly grab one up. I'm sure he knows where the closest one is.
He does. What kind of phaser are you taking?
Just a standard handheld.
Yeah, the kind of dustbuster type.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say Johnny's like overly familiar with the science labs? I don't know if it would be a place he'd spend a lot of his time.
No, it's not Johnny's thing so much.
Yeah.
I think he's aware of like the security setup at the very least. He's the same as Murphy, and but he's like diligent. But maybe he's only dropped in once or twice. It's not really, unless he's on patrol or something. It's not really somewhere that he would choose to be going, really.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would say maybe you're a little tentative walking in here. You kind of know the layout, but like this is not a place that you find yourself very often. I don't think you're walking around with gun in hand. Probably you've got it on a, in a holster as normal.
In the holster, yeah.
And you eventually find your way into the main lab there, and Fel is waiting for you. She's kind of, I think as you walk in, she's quickly talking to her staff, and she's sort of outlining a sort of plan. And as the door opens, she, as opposed to when Murphy walked in and she didn't realise it, she quickly turns around and she's got a smile on her face. She goes, "It's the Conought, Johnny. Good, you're here. We can get started." She claps her hands together.
Okay, reporting for duty. You want me to shoot this thing?
Yes, I do. I should probably explain myself. The theory that we're working on is that the worms have the ability to metabolize energy from their environment, and which would explain how they survive down there when there's no vegetation or life forms or anything for them to eat or whatnot. But the one thing this planet does have is a lot of high energy particles and radiation and stuff hitting it constantly from the star up above. Since we brought this one on board, it's ignored all of our attempts to feed it food, but it has been throwing itself at the energy field we've got, keeping it trapped here, and seeming to not tire out. In fact, quite the opposite. It's going faster after every hit. So what I want to do is see what happens when we pump it full of a lot of energy all at once. Phaser energy, hence that gun you brought with you.
Hey, that's a pretty extreme measure by the sounds of things. I mean, are you sure this is the right environment for us to do this in? How are we going to do it? Are you just going to drop part of the shield and then I take a shot? And Johnny's looking real apprehensive about this.
Well, sounds good to me. Good thinking, Ensign.
I didn't mean that was my suggestion. And Johnny looks all the more nervous.
One of the other science officers leans in. So, we can open a small aperture in the force field, I think.
That sounds a little bit more sensible. I've got a good aim. I should be able to get it through quite a small hole. I just don't want that thing. If you say it's moving fast, then if we were to take down any part of that shield that it could get through, it might leak through at any moment. And then, well, you know what Murphy's like. She'll kill us. If that doesn't get us, then she will.
Yeah, she seems angry today. Maybe take a nap. Had to put all this on hold.
Well, you've got to get some rest now and again. I know what you're like. I've heard stories about... I mean, you seem to be going far quickly, but that effort, it's going to wear you out. Trust me.
She's like several ranks above you. Like...
It's early in the morning and Johnny's feeling very confident today.
It's 1:00 in the afternoon.
Sorry.
Yeah.
He's feeling confident today regardless.
I think you're in luck here because I think she mostly just kind of brushes it off. She sort of leans forward a little bit conspiratorially. People have been talking about me, huh? Well, no such thing as bad press. But still, another time.
Okay, well, let's get this set up then.
One of the other scientists is tapping away on the control panel on the side of the enclosure, and a section of the enclosure wall extrudes itself kind of up and over the dome of the force field. Not breaking the enclosure wall at all. It's more just sort of like an internal part, sort of telescoped out to cover part of the force field dome, and at about a convenient sort of height on this extruded part. There's a small panel which opens, and you can see that the extrusion has kind of pressed itself onto the outside of the force field. You can still see the sort of the energy effect there, and the scientist turns to you. Right, this small section of the force field has been isolated, so we can drop it and raise it without affecting the overall force field itself. So you should be able to gain access to do whatever you need to do from here.
Okay, right. So. I'll take aim.
Okay.
And, how fast is it bouncing around this space?
It's going pretty quickly. It's like running speed round.
Okay.
But it's visible. It's not like this isn't the easiest shot because it is moving pretty quick. But also it's kind of it's a pretty large area. It's not like Yeah, you've got. I think you've got an okay chance of shooting at it.
Okay.
Fel is looking on, kind of quite raptly, as well. The other scientists in here. There's 3 or 4 other ones in here who are taking notes, and that. Fel turns to you. All right, Johnny. Lowest setting. We just want to see what happens for now.
Right, sir. And I'll make sure that the phaser's down at its lowest setting.
Okay.
And then, take aim and fire.
Okay, can I get a difficulty 2 control security check from you?
Okay. Ooh. That's a bit rough.
18 and a 3. Okay. It's a little rough. Yeah, so you got 1 success. Just looking at your character sheet to see if there's anything.
I'm more focused towards hand-to-hand type stuff, really.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think with any of those focuses we could kind of argue that we've increased your critical range on that. So with one, I think, okay, we can say then that it is moving very quickly, and you get pretty close to it, but you just about miss it, and it's sort of the phaser sort of just is absorbed by the into the dust. It just imperceptibly turns towards the site of where you were firing from. It's not jumping towards you or anything, it's just it's almost like the energy discharge has gotten its attention.
Okay. Johnny will look a little bit frustrated and over to the other scientists and just ask, shall I keep going?
Yeah, give it another go. Take your time.
Okay. And I shall roll again.
That's better. 7 and a 6. So yeah, you take your second shot, you line it up, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's coming towards you at this point, but it's sort of, it's you've gotten its attention, and as it's turning, you just line up and just blast it again. You see the energy kind of absorb into its outer kind of shell, and it just slows down to a stop.
Okay. Completely static still.
Yeah, it's just kind of slowed, and it's kind of it curls itself slightly up as it does, as it comes to a full stop. Not into a proper full, wrapped around itself or something, but it just kind of slightly curling inwards as it sort of comes to a stop. And you can see it, I don't know, never really described it kind of breathing, but it's sort of, there's a slight little bit of movement. It doesn't look like it's dead on the ground or anything. It's just kind of it's not moving forward anymore.
Right. Well, that certainly slowed it down. I mean, I think it's still alive. It's breathing over there, isn't it?
Fella's frantically taking notes at this point. Okay, Mason, take a scan, quick, before it dissipates. One of the ensigns rushes forward to probably about the closest he can get to where it is in the enclosure, and starts scanning it with a tricorder. All of the assembled scientists kind of gather around the main monitor set up on the wall as the data streams across. Fel is sort of front and center, and she's sort of quite intently studying the data as it's streaming across, and you see a sort of a smile start to spread itself across her face, and she nods before turning back to you, Johnny. That's great. That's exactly what I wanted. It's what I was hoping for. Thank you, Ensign.
So that was interesting results, I take it?
Oh, yeah.
Did we hurt it, or is it full?
No. It's in a food coma. Think of it if you ever had a big meal and you just want to have a nap afterwards. Like that. That much directed energy all in one go is more than it can handle.
Okay, well, that's one way to keep them under control. I guess it might make it a little easier if we're on the planet again. If we have reason to go back, then just got to keep a keen eye.
Well, from a security standpoint, yeah, but scientifically, we've never really seen anything that can absorb phaser energy like this before. At least not a life form. I mean, sure, it looks stunned, but it's not stunned like the phaser's designed to do. It's stunned because it's taken in all the energy. It'll start using it soon. We haven't seen anything like that before.
Oh, I didn't even consider that. I'm not really a science guy.
Yeah.
And he flexes a little bit in that way that he's done a couple of times before, like stiffens up.
Yeah, super impressive, Johnny.
Maybe not quite that level, but in that way, it's just a little bit noticeable.
Just the flex is very funny to me. Just like, I'm not really a science guy, just kind of flexing your muscles.
I think Johnny gets his Starfleet uniform just a tiny bit tighter than everybody else.
Of course he does.
So yeah, I think maybe there's just like a little bit of an awkward silence at this moment. Where she sort of she taps away on her pad for a second and goes, "Yeah, I think we're good for now, then, Johnny, on the shooting front. At least until this thing recovers. If we need you again, we'll give you a call."
Well, I'll report up to the senior officers, let them know what's happening.
Cool. Well, yeah, thanks again, and we'll see you later.
No problem. Call me anytime.
Filth.
Right out.
Filth.
Flirting with Fel.
Just pulling Johnny moves.
Johnny
It's
moves.
a trap. It's a trap. She's totally mad.
So love it.
Yeah, she turns back to... I don't think she really picked up on any kind of flirting, or if that was even the case. I think she just... Like, she's so focused on her work there, and the flex was just kind of like... She's like, oh, nice, cool. Like, as in, like, good job. Like, sort of like... And okay, so, and then you walk out, did you say?
Yep. He'll go back to duties and go about his day. Well, in fact, no. He'll walk out into the corridor and hit his comm. Conought to Murphy.
Murphy here.
I completed that job that you gave me for Fel, and well, I shot the thing, and it does seem like we've got some kind of progress here. It went to sleep very rapidly after being shot with a phaser, so it seems like we can kind of build them up, and maybe make the place a bit safer if we do run into more of these things somehow.
That's a good thing to know. If Fel needs anything else, let me know. But good work, Johnny.
I'll return to my duties, unless you've got any other jobs for me.
As long as that creature doesn't escape and onto the ship, I'm happy. Murphy out.
And, yeah, Conought will continue on his way at that point.
Okay, so Murphy, Conought rings off from the call, and you turn back to the assembled engineers around you. I don't think you're in engineering. You're in maybe like one of the labs down near there, and the ball is on a table in front of you, and you got like 2 or 3 engineers around you. I think maybe Bond is one of them, because this maybe felt like more of like here's an object that's clearly been worked on, rather than like, well, we need the scientists to look at this. This is more like let's take it to the engineers, see if they can figure out how it works. Or
Yeah,
what it's
it's
for,
like
kind of
maybe
thing.
a more mechanical kind of aspect to it.
Yeah.
Like a puzzle sphere was what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Almost.
So you turn back to the group and you can see Bond is kind of, he's there, he's sort of looking at it. I think Commander Carter's there as well, and he's kind of like, he's down at like his table level and he's moving around and looking at it, and he's picking it up and he says, well, very intricate. Not of a design I've seen before. Puts it back on the table. Pretty weighty. Where did you say you found it, Commander?
We found it in a cave. Bond tracked the signal, but we couldn't get past a gate or a door. This was the only thing we found nearby.
Yeah, this was kind of in the cave entranceway, wasn't it, on the ground? And the wall was also kind of had similar kind of style of carvings and stuff on it. But I think it'd be straightforward to say that it's quite obvious they're made by the same people.
Do you think it opens?
Possibly. He's sort of rotating it in his hands again. All of these little panels on it. Not moving at all. They're pretty flush. But maybe. I mean, if it's locked. Doesn't look like a physical lock. He's like twisting it in his hands. I used to play with Rubik's Cubes as a boy. Not quite the same.
Rubik's Cube. I've heard of those. They're like different colors and She does like the motion to like twist
The twisted
Rubik's
motion,
cube. Yeah.
That's the one, yes. Except, well, this isn't quite the same, because none of this is moving physically. No colours either.
Maybe you have to apply pressure at the same time as you're twisting.
Maybe. Do you want to have a go? Passes it over to you.
All right. Now, I should say everybody should step back just in case I do manage to open this, but I doubt it. But I hope this isn't a grenade.
Just take out engineering and just...
Yeah, just take out one of the engineering offices. The whole of engineering.
Okay. So what are you doing?
Yeah, she's going to try and twist it, but also apply pressure at the same time.
Okay. I don't think this is a check. I think you just try it. You try it a few different ways. You know what I mean? Because there's the different sort of panels on it and everything. And it just feels pretty solid. It doesn't feel like any of the panels are moving at all. It doesn't feel like they're kind of depressing or anything like that. It all just feels like a quite sort of solid sort of lump.
Okay. No. Is there a way we can scan the inside?
Of course, yes. Put it in the middle of the table.
All right. She'll put it on the table.
So, center of the table, there's like a little sort of scanning block type thing. It's sort of like it's basically there's a kind of tricorder built into the table sort of thing, and sort of cycles through and a few. I think it takes a couple of cycles round. It takes a minute or so to get a result. When the result appears on the screen, it does confirm that the ball does seem to be solid, at least as far as the computer can tell, all the way through. However, you do get a kind of insight into sort of its structure. It's non-conclusive, but it is composed of many, many, many thin, sort of almost ceramic kind of layers of a variety of previously unknown alloys and minerals.
Okay.
Carter sort of looks at you. None of these look familiar. Computer is having trouble. This might be first new material of the expedition.
New element. Nice.
Well, I'm not sure about new element yet, but definitely some unfamiliar lattices and alloys in this thing. Not quite sure. It's not quite sure their function yet. At this point, I think you're all kind of gathered around the information screen as the computer is sort of generating this list of materials that it's detecting in its scan of the ball. I mean, not everything is completely unknown to science. There are definitely some, more kind of common elements and minerals and things involved in the sort of the various layers of the ball. But everything that's kind of new has been sort of labelled as unknown and unknown properties and stuff like that. Several items down on this list, as you're kind of just sort of perusing it, there is a note, sort of, I guess, almost like a kind of pop-up, suddenly appears next to it. Parallel analysis detected.
Parallel analysis? Computer, explain.
Working.
The entry kind of expands on the screen for a bit more of a sort of expansive view, and the parallel analysis detected note also expands, adding the text, mineral currently undergoing analysis in Biolab 1.
Computer, confirm that's Fel's laboratory.
Affirmative.
The implications are clear. There's some kind of connection between the ball and the creature currently undergoing testing in Fel's lab. What that connection is, right now, you're none the wiser. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. As I said in the intro, there's going to be a little bit of a longer break before we come back with the next chapter of Frontier. We're taking our customary January break to just recover from the whole holiday season. But we'll be back on Thursday, February the 6th with the next chapter of Frontier. And we hope you'll all join us for that. In the meantime, you can head to pretendingwithdice.com for all of our online presences, including our Discord server, our merch store, Ko-Fi page, all of our social media handles, and much more. For now, that's our show. We hope you all enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.